The broadcast is live.
We're
We're talking
live.
about
Good morning,
kitties.
everybody. Oh,
Good
Lucy's had her
morning.
treat, so she's walking off.
Broadcast is. Okay, we can turn that down.
We're talking kittens.
Kitties, kittens, and I love the names. I mean, that is the.
My vet, when I took them in for their upper respiratory infection to get
Yeah.
them meds, they had a minor upper respiratory infection, a little sneezy. She was like, first of all, they're so stinking cute, and second of all, love the names.
And if she only knew, or he only knew, the humans behind the
Yeah.
names. That is so cool. Okay, I think we need to share our T-shirts. So you get to share yours first.
Oh, yeah. Coffee spelled backwards is e-fuck. Just know I don't give e-fuck until I've had my coffee.
I'm getting one of those. And then I ordered a new Peace Through Music
I
T-shirt.
love that.
I do too. The other one I got was much smaller lettering. You know, I know I took Carol and Eric out to a restaurant last night, and I wore this in public, and people, it's Hot Springs Village. People in the restaurant were just looking at me like, oh my God. And I'm like, yeah,
I
try
might
it.
have to get that for my guitar teacher for Christmas. He likes t-shirts.
Exactly. So how is everybody? Man, I have missed you guys on this goofy road trip I've been on. As I was telling Jen Lynn, I have things in the house I've been house sitting. I have things in the temporary house that I am renting as of today, and I've got almost everything in this 3 storage units where it'll stay until I get the real house. So I'm feeling a little ungrounded. Just, and I have
So,
zero
so
earth in my
by
chart.
first Monday in September, you'll be in your house with your gongs, with your setup, as
Yeah.
opposed to the makeshift setups.
Well, and that's the cool thing about being, I mean, after all this traveling with all this heavy stuff, my desire is to go zen and just, go to the laundromat instead of getting the washer and dryer moved, and don't move furniture in except something to sleep on and one chair to sit in and a desk, and I'll have all my instruments except for the ones I leave here, and just make it a sound and prayer temple. One of the bedrooms, because it's a 4-bedroom house, it's just little. And one of the bedrooms, I would put a copper pyramid in there and do crystal grids all over the floor, and that's it. So I'm actually excited about that because I'm really feeling like I have too much stuff about now. Most of it's instruments, but I like the instruments. So
It's fun when you have an extra bedroom. I had a house one time where I set up a whole healing room in it. And the cats, at the time I had 7 cats, they would go in the room and they would just sit like, ah. The energy in it was just
yeah.
so awesome.
Yeah, this house is a little baby 2-story. And for me to put 10 gongs and maybe 10 humans downstairs, I have to have zero furniture, just mats. And that goes into the kitchen, dining room. I mean, it's like that's all I can have down there. And then there's 2 bedrooms downstairs. So one will be the storage room for all the, package for all this stuff. One will be the healing room. And then upstairs will be where I sleep and where I have the pyramid room. And it's like, ooh, my own private floor.
Oh, you may have to set up a little sitting room.
That's exactly, yeah. I've got back jacks. I mean, I have about 18 back jacks, so I'm good. I can make myself comfortable. So, and the things that I can find in storage are like, ooh, there's the outdoor folding chairs, giant front porch, yay. That's where the chairs will be.
Nice.
It's just been funny, going back into storage because I never intended moving temporary. It was going to be full, get everything out of storage. And it's like, okay, I found hummingbird sugar and a jar to make it in. Now I got to find the hummingbird feeders. Just weird stuff that's showing up in the front of the storage unit. So it's been quite entertaining. And that's a perspective because on a
That's a
bad day,
perspective.
it's like, this is a really good topic for today.
It's been coming up a lot in personal readings over the last month too. It's like once we settled on the theme July 4th after we did the live stream that day, and
Hmm.
um, that it starts showing up over and over and over again in personal readings. So it's funny how synchronicity works.
Yes. Okay.
So
I'm
I
looking to
was
see if we
thinking
get
about
Gong.
perspectives.
Yes.
I was thinking about um, why our perspectives are the way they are sometimes. Like what gets us hung up on it. And I pulled some cards, and I was getting like when you feel stuck.
Hmm.
Um, when you feel dark night of the soul, like oh woe is me, loss, regret, anger, resentment. Um, when your ego gets in the way. Um, the devil card for me a lot of times is about ego, because our ego, we all have ego, it's our sense of self, but you have to keep it in check, right, so you don't get it all blown up. And when the ego gets in the way, it starts questioning things or twisting things, and as you always put it, playing the stories in our minds.
Hmm.
And it's like that's when we need clear thinking. Sometimes that's by going into action on something and learning something about why you've got the perspective you have, going within and doing the work, seeing what options are out there, and even when you can't see where you're going, um, you know finding that judgment, you can return to this, you can look at it again and find a little bit of hope, and self-love. A lot of times when our crown chakra gets disconnected from the
Hmm.
divine, it's because we've lost that connection to self-love and to love in general. um, Being patient with yourself, because it takes time to change a perspective, right? It's like a habit, just like smoking or anything. It takes time to change
Hmm.
a habit, and then starting a new journey to joy and self-love. And that it's interesting, these three cards are all about taking wisdom within, mulling things over, right, taking things in. It's the masculine and feminine version with the high priestess and the hermit, taking things in and mulling things over, taking the wisdom to know and to be discerning. I think a lot of times we just don't know how to be discerning. But I found it interesting when I was pulling cards. ha- This is all mostly major arcana,
Hmm.
so it's all that fool's journey, which if you didn't see that video, go back and watch that. There are playlists on Jody's and Mice channel for Sacred Sounds of Coffee. The fool's journey is all the major arcana. Um, it's like when you get estranged from yourself, you've lost the connection to yourself, and you just go into sometimes a poor me or victimhood, or why me, who said why me, sometimes like why is this happening to me. um that can we never ask why me when good things happen, right? We have good things that happen, like we get money from out of nowhere, or finding your new home. Why me? Why me? That no,
Hmm.
it's always why me.
Hmm. Hmm.
So when do you find um, perspective may need a shift? When do you find trouble with that?
I actually made notes this morning. Um, God, where do I start? The definition of perspective is having a point of view, according to Dr. Google. And another definition is the ability to understand what is and isn't important, which is the discernment factor. And my perspective on perspective comes from a combination of anthropology and shamanic practice. And one of the elder, I'm pretty sure he's on the other side now, one of the elder anthropologists from Hawaii, Serge King, talked about in his fact world, which is a perspective, that everybody, every human on this planet has a different viewpoint, has a different perspective on what reality is. And it is somewhat a miracle that we can even communicate with each other. And I read that about 35 years ago, and it was like, yeah, okay, I get it. It was up here in the consciousness of, I get that. And nowadays, I call those parallel realities. And I've watched some really interesting people talk about, well, there's this reality going on the planet, and there's that one, and they're completely different. And you can be in one or the other or both. And
Right. What's
so when
true for
I
you
look at
may not be what's true for me, and vice versa.
and that's so when I did more just looking at what the common muggle world says about perspective, it's taking a stand, taking a stance, interpretations. And what I kept hearing in the shamanic realm, because I always listen to my guides when I'm reading, is the problems we run into as humans is when we get attached to our perspective being the right way and other people's being the wrong way
Or the only way.
or the other way. And one of my practices for decades has been intentionally teaching myself to stand in what I call sacred paradox, to stand in the center of the medicine wheel, looking at all the different perspectives and judgments and viewpoints and holding the possibility that they're all right. Or, since we're on a duality planet, they're all wrong. And not getting hung up on my way is the right way. And so, when I look at changing a perspective, it's like, and even because we talked about the victim thing before we got on here, everything that people do, everything, anything people do is simply an outer expression of what's going on in here and how they are. So even victim consciousness
Mhm.
is simply a cry for help on some level. And I had an experience when I first got back. I've been back up here, I think, 2 weeks. And I got hired to do a nonprofit event with a group of young teachers for a nonprofit. And all of y'all, yes, I've been in Texas for a while, all y'all, you guys we're awake in a different kind of way. I'm not going to use the woke word because I think it's BS, but we are aware of things in the world and things in ourselves that, without the kind of lesson I had a few weeks ago, I somewhat take for granted. And I sat with a group of 30 women who knew nothing about the world any of us live in. It was like going to the moon and doing sound healing. And the whole aspect of, do we ask ourselves what's going on? Do we even look at our perspective? These people were in a state of frequency and poverty, to the point that they don't even know that there's questions to ask beyond, how do I survive? So for me, in my perspective, I walked away from that very sad that this is a reality in this planet, because it is. I'm privileged. I mean, I may walk around going, I don't make enough money, but I'm privileged. I mean, it's all perspective. And I walked away feeling both sad and extremely grateful that I am surrounded by people who will even talk about topics like this
Yeah,
at all.
it's interesting because I think when you're on a spiritual journey or spiritual quest, which I believe our viewers for Sacred Sounds of Coffee
Mhm.
are totally in that tribe.
Oh,
Um, it's you're often a little more sensitive to how others are behaving or
yeah.
reacting, or so. For me, like I'll see a skewed perception. I'll see something that's skewed based on their childhood, their upbringing, or who their friends are, as adults. And it skews people's perceptions. And a lot of times, like, when I don't agree with someone, I'll look at them and I'll say, well, bless them, they're doing the best they can on their journey.
Yeah.
My dad was a prime example of that. Someone I could never get on the same page with. He was, a flaming narcissist.
Hmm.
But I'm like, I looked at it, I detached from it and looked at it and said, he's doing the best he can. He's
Hmm.
for where his soul is at on his journey. A lot of times, people that are on a spiritual journey are older souls. They've been around a while.
Hmm.
And I
Hmm.
think a lot of times, like, we see these younger souls that are struggling, and they like to push buttons and things like that. And you just have to look at them and say, okay, well, they're doing the best they can, in this lifetime and
Hmm.
this journey. And their perceptions are coming from some experience that they've had, just like our
Hmm.
perceptions are coming from some experience we've had.
Hmm.
But you can detach from that perception or that experience
Hmm.
if, say, for example, like abuse. I
Hmm.
went through child abuse.
Hmm.
I never say I was the victim of child abuse. I always say I experienced child abuse.
Hmm.
That comes from being able to let go of resentment, anger,
Hmm.
frustration,
Hmm.
fear, uh, any of those negative feelings. And detaching from that, I don't send love to it either. I go neutral and detach from it, and I can look at it as an experience and talk about it without going into
Hmm.
tears.
Which is sacred paradox.
Yeah,
It's not positive. It's not neutral. I mean, it's not positive. It's not negative. It is.
it
It's
just
just a
was.
sacred neutral. You're right in the neutral place. In the Zen order I was in, that would be the place where we would say, "Isn't that interesting?"
Hmm.
and breathe. It's the curiosity of, and I have this a lot. The curiosity of human experience in the third dimension is really interesting. And if my emotions or my ego get attached to anything, then it becomes
Yeah.
painful or joyful. But it's always interesting. And I had an anthropology. The foundation of anthropology. I trained in cultural anthropology. I did not train in in indigenous history. I learned that later. But the anthropological training was one of being a curious observer, don't interfere, which by definition meant don't judge either. And even doing that, it is, I mean, this is quantum physics, it is impossible as an observer to not affect what we are observing. So it's, this is a really expansive topic for me. And I remember I started college in California when I was, normal college age and finished it after my divorce in Texas. And I took a class the last quarter. I actually two classes that are relevant to perspective. One was the anthropological history of Texas, Mexico, all that south, middle, southwest area from the indigenous perspective. And I can honestly say that is the best class I have ever taken, ever, 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 anywhere. Because it was taught by natives of the area. It was not taught by white people like me. The history that I had learned about that location in our country was completely different from what they taught because they taught it from the indigenous history. And as we've all heard, whoever wins the wars writes the history. It was written differently. And it was just so beautiful and honoring of people and Mother Earth to hear it from that perspective. So it was a really big wake up call. The other class that I took, and this was actually funny, I wanted to, what do I want to do when I grow up? I had not found the bowls yet. And I took a marketing and advertising class. I took two of them. And the second one was before I graduated. And I had a 4.0. prior to this quarter. And this woman got up and asked of the room of 120 some odd people, how many of you are not advertising grads? And so there were 9 of us that raised our hands. And she looked at me because I was in the front row and I was exactly the same age as her. And she's like, I want to talk to you later. You know, like another, I mean, old fart, but you know, we were in our 30s. She basically said, I use this as a class to screen people out of that industry that do not need to be in it. You know, because I don't want crap in the industry. And when we had our meeting, and she said, you know, you guys will not pass if unless you are. Basically, she was going to flunk everybody. And you know, I went in to have a meeting. I said, look, no offense, my ego's in the middle of this. I'm graduating with 4.0. I do not want to be dinged with your grade. I'm going to leave. You know, I'm not an advertising person. She made a deal with me. She said, you prepare something to present to these people, these youngsters, from your perspective as an anthropologist and somebody who's been out in the world, and you pass. And you have the University of Texas entire, you know, broadcast studio, blobbity, blobbity, blobbity to use. Okay, she's telling this to me. I had already flunked anything I had done that meant get up on stage and speak. I was terrified of it. And I said, okay, I'll do it. You know? And she gave me access to every one of her slides in advertising. I had a video going behind me of the Wizard of Oz scene where the guy behind the screen,
behind the curtain.
behind the curtain, is shown. I had music playing, and my presentation was on sexism in advertising. And this was 35, 36 years ago. And it was all about what we accept as normal may have somebody behind the screen running things. And I mean, and part of me that I got up there and actually did it was really fun. You know, this is what got me doing stuff like this. And what I find so interesting about that experience and what I am seeing this week is there is some youngster, I don't remember her name, on TikTok that is outing Victoria's Secret. And she did it through music, dance, flash mobs, and showing up in front of Victoria's Secret stores with women of all sizes. Most of us as women have grown up with body image issues because advertising says we are supposed to look a certain way, which most of us don't look. And this youngster has condensed, you know, years of anthropology into a freaking 2 minute video with song and dance and women in wheelchairs and women in every body. I mean, it's just because, you know, Victoria's Secret was invented by a dude, which is what the song is about. You know, it was a complete fabrication to create a perspective of how we are supposed to look and be in the world. And I mean, even when I was
That's
anorexic,
been going back for
oh
centuries,
yeah,
though. I mean, look at the Victorian times, cinched waist, and
and
like a body shape that no woman had.
exactly. So, but you know, it was so funny that one of my friends posted another one, that more expanded video a couple days ago, and you know, my view on perspective is if I am taking anything for granted about anything, look at my history, which you know, you talked about. Look at marketing, look at advertising, look at, you know, anything that makes me not stop, get in my heart, activate that, and think clearly, because it is so easy to just get mesmerized by the BS out there. And I love questioning it all. I love, because that, for me, that kind of perspective gives me more choice. And a lot of the spiritual work I do is about choice, having choices. So it's
Because
been
we all have choices,
we all
how
have
we
choice.
react, or it's like if you can tap into, when you're feeling threatened, and that means
Hmm.
mentally, emotionally, or physically. When you're feeling threatened and you go into a fear place, your perspectives are going to be skewed. versus if you can detach from those feelings when somebody's triggering something in you, if you can detach from that.
Mm-hmm.
But I was laughing. I was thinking about the expression "hindsight is 2020," and I'm like, well, yeah, but only if you're truthful with yourself. So hindsight's only 2020 if you're truthful and honest with yourself, because otherwise it's going to be skewed, right?
Yeah.
If you're running a story in your head over and over. I always say there are no mistakes, there are only experiences. So if you can detach from things, you can look at them and not
Mm-hmm.
see a mistake, see a learning experience. What did I learn
Mm-hmm.
from that?
Mm-hmm.
And finding a way to get balanced in your perspective so that you can be discerning. Um, finding a place where you can be receptive versus being creative, which is active. So like passive, active, and being able to flow with the highs and lows of life. Because the people that go, why me? Well, I always throw in their face, even in personal readings, I'll call about it. It's like, why not you? Like, we're all here as human beings having,
Mm-hmm.
spiritual beings having a human experience. We all have different things that we go through. Nobody can be high all the time. Nobody, low. If you can find that balance, that kind of neutral zone, and flow with those highs and lows, it's
Mm-hmm.
like, why not you?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Why not
Well,
me? It's like we've all gone through some crap. Um, so I
yeah.
love your thought of point of view, getting to where you can see things from someone else's point of view, but you still
Mm-hmm.
have your own, and you can
Mm-hmm.
be discerning about what resonates with
Mm-hmm.
you, what's um, your inner truth telling you, how you get connected to that. And
Right.
a lot of times I find when people go into victimhood, they may not play victim all the time, but when you go into that poor me, oh
Mm-hmm.
my god, oh woe was me, a lot of times it's because you're lacking a little bit of self-love. And
Mm-hmm.
if you have that
Mm-hmm.
self-love, that self-esteem and self-love, that'll help lift you up,
Mm-hmm.
and help you with your connection to the divine energy, because that's nothing but love. It's like, yeah, we go through things. Some things are bad, but there's healing afterwards.
Yeah. Well,
There's
and I work with a lot of people who want to skip the Earth School and 3D portion of reality and get right to the fifth dimensional. It's all love reality, and I just laugh at this point, because I've been through that, and I remember the day I was actually in Dallas walking and had the aha, slap me in the forehead moment of the only way to get out of this is to master being a third dimensional human. Even though I know my star parts and blah 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 and blah blah blah, it's like I can be as elevated and in contact with multidimensional reality as I want. I am awake here in 3D. That is the perspective I chose to be awake in. Yeah, I can dream time and shamanic journey to all the other places. It's like a vacation, but I'm awake here. I'm talking to you all from third dimensional duality, and I hear a lot of people teach from a fifth dimensional or above reality, and I'm like, that works there. It doesn't work here because we have to master here. And the joke that I started hearing 35, 36 years ago was this is the PhD program of human experience. It's hard. It's hard. And it's funny because I see this up here. I'm in the trees again, and the trees down in DFW are extremely stressed, trying to transmute the energies going on. Up here, they're 3 times taller, and there's more of them and less humans and less technology. So they're not as stressed. So that quiets me down, and I wake up in the morning, and there's a part of me that wakes up going, "Oh my God, this is never going to work out." That perspective, whoosh, that goes by. And I did a lot of work with my Kali archetype while I was in Texas, and she holds up the sword and goes, "No, no, we're not going there today." Just cut the shit, get off the victim. So it's like I have learned not to react to any of what's going on in the emotional mind stories and just witness it and go, okay, which one do I choose? You know, I think I'm going to choose to have a good day here.
Well, you know, when you meditate, you lift up. When you can't live up there in these other dimensions day to day. We're humans,
Mhm.
unless you're a hermit in a cave in Tibet or somewhere,
I've done that.
and not getting bombarded by things going on in the real world.
Yeah.
And it's interesting too. Like no matter where you go in the world, people are just people. They have similar experiences
Mhm.
and similar lessons and similar struggles. Um,
Yeah.
Even though there are cultural differences,
Mhm.
it's like basically, we're all having similar experiences.
Yeah.
And that's why, that when they say we're all one, it's like, yeah, I agree we're all one, but there are people that gets disconnected from that. So
Mhm.
we're not truly all one. Like there's a desire to be all one,
Mhm.
and function as a world in a global society and do things that are good for our earth and everything. But we're facing people that don't want to.
And and for me, I remember in the middle, 3 years ago, in the middle of COVID and all the storm that was happening around that, just listening to different groups and different aspects of reality, and really sitting down with all the spirit guides, going, "This is crazy making," because this group is convinced that their reality is real, and for them it is, and there's a reality and for them it's real, and I'm sitting here listening to all of it going, holy crap, what do I choose? How do I make sense of this? That was my question. How do I make sense of this? And and the guides, because my guides are coming from a oneness state. The main Hathor group I work with, that I play music with, there is no duality there. And they know that I have remembered that place since I woke up to it at the age of 2, and it makes human life difficult. It's painful here. And what they said to me, which was profoundly important at that moment, was anything that resonates in loving kindness, choose that. Choose that, because that will help you be here and do what you're doing. And it really has changed things, rather than trying to figure out, my God, who's right. It's just like, that's kind, that isn't. Okay.
I think
Bless you, I'm going this way.
I think Nanette in chat is reading my mind because I was about to bring that up. She said, "Aren't we to be present here each day?" And it's like we're so prone to living in the past, reliving past traumas, or living in the future. Like, oh my God, I'm not going to have the money for my rent or my mortgage or my this or the that, or car payments due. So we get caught all the time, just day to day, living in the past, living in the future, and getting present. I've got a cure for getting in the present. Get a kitten.
Yeah.
Because a animal, a dog or a cat, they know nothing but right now, this moment.
Exactly. Exactly. So on this trip to Texas, the two main places I stayed, both of them had cats. And I have nieces and nephews now. And, when I was there long enough, so there almost 3 months, so I was going back and forth between these two households. And I have not wanted another pet since my girl, my dog, had to be crossed in 2007. I've not wanted one. It was just sort of like, I can't handle it. And my last dinner down there was to my Gong partner, who is a cat rescuer. He now has 12. He's a cat failed rescuer. He never adopts.
He rescues and never puts them
Yeah,
out
actually, I
for
think he's got
somebody else.
19 now. I think he's got 19. I mean, I'm just like, what are you doing? So there was a brief moment during COVID where I borrowed one of his cats, because we were on lockdown. He and I never locked down, but we were on lockdown. So he brings over this magician cat that I knew where she had come from. I knew who placed her. And this cat is the kind that hates other cats, so she has to be alone from other animals. And at that time in the house I was in, the mold was so bad that any allergies I could even think of having were magnified. And that became the cat, so I couldn't keep her. So I'm sitting at dinner with him going, so, do you still have her? I'm thinking of getting, after spending 3 months with cats, I'm like, this cat, the first place she went when she finally came out of the bathroom was to go sit with me in the pyramid with the Tibetan bowls. I'm like, she's
Yeah.
my kind of cat.
Yeah.
So I actually may, in the beginning of next year, end up with a cat who's in 9 years old. She's, not a baby,
Awesome.
but the presence, I mean, the presence of cats and that's a whole different perspective in reality. I'm a dog person. I'm a coyote. I know how to do dog. And these cats were so interestingly subtle at how they communicated with each other in the other household. Oh, we're going to mark every gong bag you have, and
Yeah.
sit on it because we know you're going to bring it to the other house. And then they'd be going, oh, okay, we're marking the suitcase. It was the most amazing, way to send messages to other kitty people. And then at the end, the one who owns cats in Fort Worth came to visit us in the Dallas area, and the cats were like, "The origin of the cat smell is here." And I'm just watching cat perspectives, because I really
And
had
they're
to.
watchers, they're observers, so they'll sit and watch, what's going on, and that's all getting in the moment. Like
Yeah.
they'll watch things like it in such an entertaining way. I think, like, would you look at this?
Well, and for me, in the subtlety of the shamanic world I live in, they are such shamanic beings
Hmm.
because most of them do not like gongs, and all of them love gong energy when they're just hanging
Yeah,
or in the bag. They want
I
to be with the energy of the instruments.
I
And so,
find they like instruments, except Lucy doesn't like it when I hit a sour note on my guitar. She likes it as long as I'm playing it correctly. As soon as I hit a sour note, she's like,
I'm
like that.
out of here. Well, and
She's a guitar teacher. She's like, "What was that?"
all of the cats liked the bowls.
Hmm.
And there were a couple of cats. There have been cats in the houses I've played in too, and they've all, the humans are like, I don't know, they never come say hi to anybody, and they're coming over to my bowls going, that's what made that sound. So I always, always, always watch animals for a different perspective, always. And I'm talking wild things and the domestic animals in houses because they show me where my energy is at. And cats are, I used to think dogs were really in your face about it. Cats are even more intense about it. And I got chewed out by both households of cats in the beginning because I forgot to sit on the floor with them and inform them that I would be gone for X number of sleeps before I came back. And they're like, "Don't you ever do that again?" So nature for me is a perspective that expands me out of the human head, which I
Well,
like.
cats are all into worship me too. So,
Of course.
admiration. That's right in
Mhm.
the present. I love what Jen Alchemy for the Soul wrote. What pain are you playing on repeat on a tape in your head? And finding your triggers. If you can
Mhm.
find those triggers and things and release them. Um, Changing a perspective. We all change perspectives. Like I'll think, oh, I'm for this, and then I'll hear like a different perspective. It's like, ooh, okay, maybe I'm not for that. Um, Prime example, I was talking with a client and also saw Greg Braden talking about it on one of his videos.
Yeah.
I thought, okay, solar power, good for the earth, right? It uses a lot of petroleum to make the solar cells. And when they die, those big, gigantic solar cells are like
Their
just
weight. Yeah. I
just
had
like a plastic cup or anything else. It's like, oh,
exactly.
I don't,
Exactly.
it made me think differently about solar power. It's like, okay, we need to figure out a way to make better battery because
Mhm.
like batteries in general, like you go to throw out
Mhm.
AA batteries or something out of your remotes. Um, Here we have to put batteries in a separate plastic baggie and tape it to our garbage cans because they don't put them in the landfills. And
Really?
yeah, so we actually tape batteries. They're disposed of differently by my
Wow.
trash
Which is
collectors.
cool.
Yeah, but we need to find a way because we need batteries, make batteries longer lasting, hold better charges.
Hmm.
Yeah, so
Hmm.
the
Hmm.
solar powers charging batteries and things. We just have to figure out a better way to make
Yeah.
batteries safer.
Yeah,
Uh,
I had the conversation about wind turbine blades and solar with the company that's installing my a very slow Wi-Fi. It's gonna be interesting to see if I can do any of this because I can't get anything else. And he was saying the same thing. He said he's seen the graveyards where the solar panels are. He said they never decay, and it's like, ooh, I did not know that.
I see Prairie Griffith in the chat. She texted me the other day something
Uh
that I
huh.
have to bring up because it's all about perspective. She texted me a link to Joni Mitchell performing at the Newport Folk Festival. She's 78 years old. She has survived a aneurysm, had to learn to walk again, and she was sitting for most of. She played guitar a little bit for one song because I watched all the videos. Thank you,
Yeah.
Prairie. um, but she was sitting and she was singing my favorite Joni song, which is Both Sides Now. Now, if you remember it from when she was young, she sang it a little faster. Her voice was much higher. Her voice is very deep now.
Mm-hmm.
But her phrasing, very jazz like phrasing, she's got exquisite phrasing. And she's singing it slower and so thoughtfully. And the wisdom that comes through experience, that comes with age from any experiences,
Mm-hmm.
and looking back and being able to see things from both sides, from two sides. I watch the video, you will not be able to keep a dry eye. I mean,
Oh
it's
yeah,
so beautiful. I just sat there. I watched it. I don't know how many times, Prairie, but
yeah.
um, it's perspective. You know that that
I
song
watched
is about
somebody.
nothing but perspective. Is I'm here now and I'm looking at this differently, and I see it from both
Exactly.
sides.
Well, I did. I watched two of the songs, including that one, and um, what I watched, because I tend to pull out to big picture. What I watched was the energy and looks on other musicians' faces,
Hmm.
just the respect of a wise elder. In the
Yes,
traditional tribe, there's the wise elder, and then singing that song is just like,
and feeling like they're all feeling it in their heart chakras. They're all going
oh.
into, there's one
Yeah, I
point
was
where
crying a
Brandy
little bit.
Carlisle actually grabs her heart and she's like, "Ooh, like
Yeah,
I feel this."
yes, oh
I
yeah.
could cry like just talking about
I
it because
know, I
the
me too.
memory,
Because it was
I can
yeah.
replay it
If
in my
you
head.
haven't
It
seen
was
it,
powerful.
go watch it.
Go watch it. Yeah, I'll try to remember later to post it on my community tab for anybody that has trouble finding it. But
That was
um,
amazing. That was
it's
amazing.
yeah, it's amazing. Beautiful, beautiful rendition, like so many on the stage and tears.
Mhm.
But
Well, and
perspective,
I was
learning to see things from two sides. And
I was sent a video link. Where was I going? Oh, I think I was driving up north for the nonprofit I did work for, and one of my friends sent me a link to a song that oh God, what's his name? Willie Nelson, who I always put on the road again when I start traveling. That's been a tradition for about 20 years. Um, and he has a song, and I will post this on my community link. He has a new song out that is all about creating reality. It's basic stuff for most of us. And I'm like, Willie Nelson did one of those? And it's just this beautiful, yeah, I love Willie's voice, it's just this beautiful, gentle, loving energy of another wise elder going, yo, you create reality by the way you focus on things and verbalize it. So
Yep.
I'll post that one too
What
because
what you focus on is
is
what
what
the
you
universe is
create.
going to bring you. So if you focus on lack, it's going to bring you more lack. If you focus
Exactly.
on need or want, it's going to bring you more want.
Exactly.
Uh,
Exactly. So
I,
yeah.
I, yeah, I just said this to somebody Saturday in a reading. I said, use the word desire. Desire means of the Father. I desire financial
Hmm.
abundance, or I
Hmm. Hmm.
desire whatever it is you're trying to manifest.
Ooh, got the go for the gongs.
Well, shall we get to some music, some
Yeah, what
healing?
I'm going to do while you are praying in is I'm gonna black out my camera and carry this thing out to the gong chamber. So I guess I'll mute everything too so I don't interfere, but let me.
Jody's still in her temporary location, so she doesn't have everything in one room. And y'all don't be judging Joni Mitchell for smoking so much. She's a chronic heavy chain smoker, yes, but unless you fought an addiction yourself, that's a tough one. I have a rule: as long as you're not um, hurting anyone else by your choices, it's your own lessons you're learning. You know. Oh, lucky girl, you found the video. Thank you so much. Thank you for posting the link. There's Jody in her room with her gongs. You've got your microphone muted. So I'm going to start the meditation, then you can do what you need to do with your sound adjustment. Archangel Raphael, Archangel Michael, Archangel Gabriel, Archangel Ariel, and to the Hathors, we invoke your wisdom. We thank you for bringing us aware of our perceptions, for bringing us aware of our point of view. We thank you for helping us to discern what is important and what is not important, and the wisdom to know the difference. We thank you for helping us find our truth, for helping us stay in the present moment, for helping us find our self-love as well as our connection to divine love. Only love is real. We thank you for bringing us balance and to ebb and flow with the highs and lows of life. And we thank you for bringing us together to open our eyes to perceptions.
Okay, I'm playing with Carol. Thank you.
Thank you.
Still ringing. Thank you, Carol, for playing with Jody.
You're welcome, and thank you.
And thank you for opening your home to Jody and taking care of our friend.
And my instruments. Yeah, there's two I brought with me, and then the Earth and Sun over here that they've been babysitting, and then she's got two new ones.
Oh, wow. That was beautiful. I was getting all kinds of spirals in my third eye chakra, and then I felt like I was in a vortex of energy.
Ooh.
Awesome.
It's the first time we've gotten to play gongs together, and the first time we've gotten to play her gongs with any of mine, because they got those two gongs just as I was leaving.
That was powerful.
That was fun.
That was fun. It's fun to hear you because you're awesome by yourself, but it's fun to hear you with someone else too and how it works together. Yeah. It's beautiful.
When I do my gong bows up here with all 10 gongs, Carol's my gong partner. And we just, in the other house, we would split them in half. And in this new one, because it's so small, I'll make what I call the gong sausage, which will be a container, that's long and narrow with gongs on either side and end caps. And I think I can get at least 8 of the 10 in there, and we'll go back and forth in there playing. So,
wow,
yeah,
that was quite powerful. Well, we were supposed to be on your channel this month, but due to traveling and everything, we will be on Jody's channel the first Monday of September. Thank you all for joining us for these Sacred Sounds of Coffee. Sylvia, you're late.
Good thing it's recorded.
It's recorded. You can go back and watch later. I love doing these. I just love it. People that come back, that are working during the day or whatever, coming back and watching later. The comments are always so beautiful on these videos. So thank you all for sharing sacred space with us.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
Sacred Sounds of Coffee.
This has been a good anchor to bring me back to a perspective of reality that goes, oh yeah, I can work online. So thank you for helping keep me going in these while I've been traveling. I look forward to being grounded in one place where I can actually record again.
Yeah, it's hard when you're on the go and don't feel settled.
I haven't felt settled in months, so yeah, looking forward to that. So. Love you guys, all of you out there. Thank you so much, and I love you, Jen Lynn. And kitties, you got new kitties.
Kittens. Probably the next time we'll have kittens climbing around me because they'll probably be out by then. We'll see how they react to the music. I found whenever I've had cats and I play sacred music, they respond. And when I've had healing rooms, they respond to that energy. So Lucy is over here just passed out on the sofa. So like she's like a sphinx position right now.
Great.
Well, thank you, everyone. We will see you the first Monday in September. Should be Labor Day.
Yeah, Labor Day weekend. Yeah, that'll be fun. Yeah.
Hi, everybody.